that is what alcohol always competes with sleep. If you look at it, the choice is to sometimes sacrifice sleep just so that you can have a tiny bit more. And that's always a better choice. That's the note that we should start this episode on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the Radical Measures podcast. As promised, I'm going into that host scene. As promised, we have a very interesting guest, somebody that we've been looking forward to speak to. Please give it up for Lavanya Jayashankar, the person who decided to make the world a bit better by making more alcohol. Okay, and that's my version of Mother Teresa. Okay. It definitely works. Welcome, Lavanya, to the show. And thanks for creating Matinee Gin. All right. So before we go ahead with this, I told you before as well, the idea of drinking gin has been quite a revelation for me. In the last 2 years, I've had that shift. We've come across a couple of other brands also, like Greater Than from Now Spirits, that's available in Mumbai, and a couple of other iterations as well,
Yeah.
And then I realized that living in Mumbai, I might have access to really expensive gin like Bombay Sapphire or something, which is, well, you need to think twice, And then I come to Goa and I see, dude, all of the distillers are here,
Yeah.
Including you guys,
Yeah.
who make
Matinee Gin.
See this? You see this pretty bottle right here? Yeah, they make the stuff inside it. All right, Matinee Gin. Check it out. The link is in the description as well. They're exclusively available in Goa at the moment.
Just for now.
Yeah, just for now. You wait. All right, you just wait and
Or
see.
just come to Goa.
Yeah,
Simple as that. Just come.
As if people needed more reasons to come to Goa, right?
exactly, right? I
This
mean,
is the, what is it? Needle that breaks the camel's back.
Oh,
What straw that breaks the
it's a
camel's
straw.
back.
It's a
straw.
straw. I think both are similar in weight,
Yeah,
so the
yeah.
phrase still
It
works. So we was as far as this, creating this brand is concerned, you and Anjali.
That's right.
Yeah, you
That's
are the duo behind Matinee Gin, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the only brand at the moment headed by 2 women.
This is true. We are India's first and only women-founded gin.
Damn, dude. It's interesting because there's a certain level of taboo attached to consumption of alcohol when it comes to genders.
Yeah.
So creating alcohol and making alcohol is so just taking it step. Like, you want to make it also?
Yeah.
Like, we were fine with you drinking, Lavanya. You want to really make it?
I'm not sure so many people were fine with us drinking it as well, but whatever.
Yeah. It's a fun thing, right? So what was your first experience with alcohol as in general speaking? Like,
Oh, that is like, I guess I'm a very privileged person in that sense. Like I had a family. I have a family that believes in this whole thing of can I slip into Hindi once?
yeah, it's fine, man. No worries.
Like basically the thinking was कि जो घर के अंदर कर सकते हो उसी को घर के बाहर करना है.
हाँ.
तो my dad had this ritual with my brother and me. On our 16th birthdays we each got our first glasses of beer, and 18th birthday our first whiskeys together.
That
So-
makes
nice.
so much sense.
Yeah.
Because you're breaking the taboo part of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like that forbidden fruit where now you have to sneak away
No,
and be like,
never.
oh, I want this.
Never.
Like,
The first couple of times in my life I got drunk also. They are the people I call, nobody else. Home is the safe space, and I know I'm very lucky with that.
Yep.
I know that's not usual for us as a
Yep.
culture.
I go ahead and blame it on something, one of my closest friends, Anup Vaidya, shout out to Anup. He is a scientist, at the moment he's working to defeat cancer. When he was young, his parents did the same thing. His dad did the same thing. Like when you're 16, 18, have the first drink with me. And that's why he never really got drunk. He just focused on other aspects of life.
It can go the other way. See, like I ended up
Yeah.
making alcohol.
Yeah, definitely.
Either way, it goes to a better path.
Yeah.
I always say this is a great motivating tool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
One peg.
Yeah.
I agree.
And the journey of gin to India has also been pretty different, right? I know I've read a tiny bit about it.
Yeah.
It has a colonial past attached to it.
Well, to some extent, I think gin and tonic has more of a colonial past attached to it because
Okay.
of this whole idea of putting quinine in a drink to help you with malaria,
Yeah.
like to help infantry forces with the malaria disease. And then, of course, tonic alone tastes like shit. So
Yeah.
then they decided to put gin in it. At least that's the story. And then it was, so that's how gin and tonic came to these parts of the world. But gin itself doesn't, I mean, it has more of a British kind of a history. So multiple origins. Like there has been a version of it made in the Netherlands before. I never know how to pronounce it, like Genever,
Okay.
something like that. And but the popular culture story is around how it started out in the UK. And in fact, it was considered to be such an addictive drink. It was called Mother's Ruin. That was the culture. I mean, that was the pop culture name.
There was a lot of
for
propaganda around gin
yeah,
as well,
around not drinking gin.
Huh.
So in fact, like there was a method by which a couple of hundred years ago you could distill it in a bathtub.
Oh,
Right, and
okay.
that's why there's even a brand called bathtub gin today.
I see.
But obviously, it wasn't a refined liquid at that point in time. It caused addiction. It caused a lot of health problems, and I think honestly speaking, that's probably where the association, which is old now, but the association of maybe women drinking it comes from. I don't know.
Okay.
But because it was called Mother's Ruin because it was mothers getting drunk in the middle of the day, unable to provide for their children and care for their children.
Okay.
So it has a bit of a murky past.
Yeah.
But like with all things taboo, when they are regulated rather than banned, when they are regulated and you have a framework within which to work, then things start to change.
Yeah, there's a level of standardization that
Yeah.
you are able to get. You're able to understand that the process has to be specific in a particular way so that it's
Yeah.
fit for mass consumption.
Yeah.
And that has been the case with a lot of things in England. Like, let's just not blame the gin.
Mm.
Okay. As far as this drink, the idea of drinking gin is concerned, I did not know this, but I recently came to know that you source your primary alcohol from another distillery, and then there's a lot of botanicals involved.
Yeah.
So the moment I read that, the thing that comes to my mind is like an apothecary or something like, where you have a mortar and a pestle, and somebody just...
You're not far from the truth, honestly. It
Really?
is that it is that finer process to develop the recipe and to distill every batch. Like that's what the craft movement has added to this, right? Like I love to say that we have a recipe, not a formula.
Okay. Yeah.
And it still requires, a recipe still requires a chef, a cook.
Yeah.
And that's what the distiller does.
Okay.
And that's what is the job of the distiller, to get every batch right. But yes, like in India, it's very difficult to make your own ENA, which is like extra neutral alcohol, which is the spirit that you procure at 96% ABV, like ABV is alcohol by volume. So how much percentage of it? I'm sure you guys know. Sorry, I'm just being extra descriptive.
Our listeners also don't know. Most of us have just been drinking
Okay.
without knowing anything about it. So,
Read
Yeah,
the
me
label.
too. Most of my life, it's cool.
yeah. So it's good to know all of this, man.
Yeah, so I guess there's a lot of regulation around it in India. There's very few licenses given out for that, for making primary extra neutral alcohol.
Okay.
But you procure that, which is distilled once already. It's pre-distilled. But then the magic of gin comes in when you distill it with your choice of botanicals.
Okay.
That is where like the craft movement has taken off, because it's like, you can have multiple takes on the same recipe. That's why you don't have one restaurant in India, right? You have 1,000.
Yeah.
So it's the same reason. Like craft brings that ability to bring your personal recipe, what you want to create, your passions about botanicals to the forefront. And today, but like when we started the journey 3 years ago, I think Greater Than was the only gin that was on shelves, and I think Stranger and Sons was about to launch or had just launched. I think during that time is when we started the development work, which took us a long time because it's not easy to,
Get it right.
No, and also, I mean, neither my co-founder nor I, we don't come from F&B backgrounds at all. You know, people keep asking me, what's your qualification to make gin? And I always have to say, I've just been drinking it for 20 years, man. So I know it's a good gin. I know what I like.
Yeah.
We just had to teach ourselves how to make it.
Qualification by association.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best form of qualification to have.
Yeah, but we both came from like super corporate, dramatically different lives, right?
Okay.
And then jumped into it, and then it was quite a journey for us because we taught ourselves distillation. Anjali spearheaded this entire thing. Like from the beginning, she's been the master distiller. I've been her trainee, followed I've made a couple of batches with her, learned the process myself. Recipe development was, of course, a combined process because we had to align on the kind of flavor profile we wanted. And we had do you want me to tell you a little bit about that?
Yeah, please.
The development part?
Yeah, I thought my face was showing interest. I'm listening, dude. I haven't paid this much attention to a teacher, alright?
It's just that once I start talking about gin, it's difficult to stop me. So you need to stop me.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Go on.
There will be cut at some point. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, the best part was we first had to start out by consciously, mindfully tasting a whole bunch of gins. Right?
That's a good place to start. I like this job. Okay. Research.
Exactly. We had to do our primary research.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And like over a period of a couple of months, we procured a bunch of gins from around the world.
Okay.
So many that we knew, like we went to college abroad. We both worked abroad, lived abroad for like over a decade. So we were lucky enough to have come across a lot.
Okay.
And we just found a way to get those in, did tasting sessions, decided, learned, read up about it, read up about distillation, literally watched videos.
YouTube videos.
on distillation. And then we had a very clear vision for the botanicals after that and the final finish that we wanted. And by the time like all of this was happening, the brand development was of course happening concurrently on the side. A couple of other brands were launching, coming out in the news, and we kind of figured that the hypothesis that we had was holding true, which is that the Indian craft scene of alcohol exploded, and especially gin. Like now you have a couple of rums, more and more whiskeys, but gin, nothing has gone as crazy as the gin category, right? 20 plus, 30 plus brands across India now, I think. And every week I hear of someone telling me of a new one coming out. There's at least like 8 coming out in the next quarter, I believe. Yeah. So I guess our hypothesis was that all of these are Indian craft gins because they are crafted, they're made in India, no doubt about that. But we felt like the botanical journey hadn't been traveled deeper than what our international counterparts had done.
Okay.
So we found that Indian craft gins were using the same kind of, gins overall have used a lot of ingredients indigenous to India, like coriander seeds and aniseed, caraway, pepper, all of that have become standard ingredients in gins. Like you'll find them in a Hendrix or a botanist or whatever. And what we found was the gins that were coming out in India, I think that's starting to change slowly, finally, and I'd like to believe that we were the first ones to do that. But the initial lot of gin was using those same ingredients.
Yeah, so the aroma profile, all of that was the same.
You can still tweak it. You can still tweak it. Like, you can have a recipe with the same ingredients but produce 2 different dishes.
Yeah.
So you can still tweak it, but the ingredients itself had not been dived into deeper.
Okay.
And that is what we decided to do. That, my favorite analogy for saying this every time is that we felt like what was happening was, it's like the foreigners who come and see the Taj Mahal and go back. But then Taj Mahal ke bhi aage bahut hai dekhne ko India mein.
Yes.
So we said, let's take that journey. Let's go find those things, those ingredients, those botanicals, those flavors that are truly indigenous to India, that are regional, that don't get as much publicity but add a lot of flavor, that that can add a lot to a recipe of any kind, whether it is this or a dish. So we did a spice safari.
Because I was just about to ask that, how do you research this? I mean, considering you both are not from F&B backgrounds, maybe utilizing people in the F&B industry or...
Not yet, not at this point, because this is about flavors. Like we literally sat down with this World Book of Flavors, read, did our research on the different types of flavor profiles, and believe it or not, it all started with an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Yes, Excel sheet is very, very versatile. versatile.
Yeah.
It has a very
So-
bad name, but it helps out
I'm
a
a
lot.
huge fan of Excel,
Yeah.
okay? Like it organizes everything.
Yeah.
So we just, we started reading up on Indian ingredients and then we just put them, like divided them into flavor profiles, like sweet, sour, peppery, spicy, etc. So we had a few headers and a bunch of ingredients under that. And then we went out looking for these. Then we, of course, came across new ones in the safari. Like, I'll never forget in Lal Bagh Spice Market, I think it was in Bombay,
Yeah.
one of our first visits. We were looking for certain things and then we came across something called Nag Kesar. It's literally called cobra saffron in English,
Yeah,
right?
I read that on the bottle.
Yeah, I think part of me chose that just for the name.
the name, right?
Killer name, dude.
Because even I got pretty interested the moment. Saffron is such a not muted, but it's such a delicate thing.
Exactly.
And then you're putting like a venomous snake name in front of it. How do you even get it, man? Is
I
there like one
can't-
cave?
I can't even begin to describe the aroma. Apparently, it grows on the Konkan coast. Like you get it in
Okay.
Bombay, you get it here in Goa. We procure our Nag Kesar locally only. Like whatever we can get locally, we are getting. What we can't because of growing conditions and type of botanical that comes from other parts of India. But we're not importing anything. Everything is coming from, like we don't have juniper from halfway across the world and all
It
of
doesn't
that.
make a lot of sense also. I mean, even when you listen to interviews, people are now realizing that local ingredient, the usage of local ingredients, it has a big payoff
Yeah.
in terms of the end product. Because
Yeah.
there is not a lot of wastage of the, the reason why you're buying it for in terms of transportation, time, the amount of time, like staleness can come into the picture. And this was a very interesting thing you mentioned is to go on a spice safari because the growing conditions matter a lot. Everything from the soil to the climate, all of that plays a role.
I mean, and I'm still on that journey. I can't even tell you that I've got it down pat. The
Yeah.
good thing is that, like distillation, the thing is at some point with an alcohol product, you need to arrive at a consistency.
Okay.
Right? Because you don't, nobody wants to buy a bottle that tastes different every time.
Barabar.
The purpose of craft is not to give you a different experience in every bottle. It's just to give you a plethora of options that you didn't have before, but you want to rely on that product being the same.
Yeah.
It's just that, like with any recipe, with any development, that iteration takes some time. So recently I've changed some of my providers of certain ingredients because I found better quality, better quality ingredients at another farm in Goa. So just recently we have switched. So we are still on that process of, with every batch of ingredients we order, we are still on that process of learning and figuring out. And we have that leeway. We are less than 1 year old. And, this is our 10th month in the market, I think. And, brands that we really look up to that have been spearheading this craft movement globally, like Monkey 47, for example. 47 ingredients from the Black Forest, right? That's where the 47 comes from.
Okay.
Like they took over a year. I think it takes about 12 to 15 distillations to come to a point where your product can then become consistent.
Okay.
So we are still on that journey. I'm still evaluating it every single time because also I'm not producing like a factory.
Yeah.
So I can't procure from people who supply to factories.
Yeah.
Right. So I am able to procure from local growers, local farmers, and that's what I intend to do as well.
Yeah.
But that just means you have to be very evaluative every time of your batches.
Oh, yeah.
So it is a process, and I do hope, I think our target is another 3 to 4 distillations, and we'll nail down the supplier for every single thing, the kind of quality that we want.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to say, the first 3 batches, not great. I might go as far as to say they were pretty shit.
Yeah.
But
No, that's fine. That's what
traveling-
happens with us.
Yeah.
When we are
It's a joke.
writing, with a joke or
That's what a
with,
joke is.
Yeah.
or even with scripts or whatnot, the first draft is horrible all the time.
Yeah. So I mean, we've come to a point where our batches are pretty consistent. To an average palate, I don't even know if the differences would be that visible now, but they are to us as the makers.
Okay.
So we are still trying to nail that down. I mean, honestly, still on that journey and enjoying it.
Yeah, this is the more exciting part of it. And to be very honest, the younger generations are adopting different experiences in terms of drinking. They are the consumers when it comes to craft alcohol.
Correct.
Not only that, it's almost like a generational thing, because you've seen your parents' generation, they have restricted their drinking habits to particular brands alone or to particular types of spirits alone. If he's a beer guy, he's a beer guy. If he's a whiskey guy, and
Yeah.
only one brand,
Yeah.
like that is what they. But with
It's
the
no
Like the
longer
Shivas
functional.
guy, the
Yes.
Black
Yeah,
Label
yeah, yeah.
guy.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, when you look at the younger generation, they're going out, they're trying out cocktails.
Yeah.
You know, they're not averse to the idea of, hey, man, what are you, dainty or what? You want to have a cocktail, you want to have fruit juice with alcohol, huh?
Yeah.
None of that exists anymore, where people are just going out to have different tastes every other night, because the world has reached a place where you can do that.
Yeah.
And gin is helping out a lot, because I never knew cucumber and a lot of other things complement gin so well.
Yeah.
Like anything that is fragrant in itself. I had tried this cocktail once where my younger brother is in the F&B industry, so he's a chef, and he had gotten rhododendron syrup. He was up north for something, and he had gotten rhododendron syrup, and you usually don't get it. And I ended up making a nice cocktail with it, just that, a little bit of seltzer, a little bit of gin, and it was so fragrant. It was
Yeah.
so nice to drink also. Like, you
Yeah.
don't feel like you're punishing yourself and reminding life sucks. You know, it doesn't feel like that.
No, but that's a very fair point as well. I think what I love the most about living in India at this point in time is that drinking is not for the unhappy or for the
Yeah.
vice-ridden. Drinking is an experience, and like cocktail culture has changed that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, thank you for the idea. I'm going to now try to find some rhododendron syrup.
Yeah,
I haven't
go
tried
for it,
that,
man.
Highly
but gin
recommend.
goes really well with florals as well.
Yes.
Right? Like we make a cocktail with a hibiscus syrup, and it is bloody delicious. So yeah, I mean, I just love the fact that young people entering, drinking today, like getting into legal drinking age, LDA as we call it in the category, they're not coming with this baggage.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have it to shed. They are coming in with a sense to explore and to see what is out there. And there's a lot of interest in the average Indian customer now. There's a lot of interest to really know what they're consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, what goes behind this? What's the thinking behind it? What are the flavors behind it? The number of questions I get at events like this, it's
Yeah.
amazing. People are genuinely curious. And I think it couldn't be a better time for craft to take off in India, honestly.
It's almost like you can see a difference in the nature of consumption when it comes to not just alcohol but anything. Let it be food, where you're sourcing it from. You want to know the farmer's name.
Correct,
you
farm
know.
to table and-
yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know how it was grown. Like, no pesticides, buddy. I don't want that sort of a transaction
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
All of that awareness. What would you attribute it to, you think? Because you're in the, you're looking at spending habits of the younger generation when it comes to consumption of alcohol. And alcohol is just one thing, but that's just an indicator of so many different changes that people have undergone when it comes to their taste for things. Like my parents' generation, like they still mock me for farm fresh eggs. Like they're like, oh, you think that's not a scam? They were using tea, black
colored.
tea, yeah, to give it a color and whatnot. I'm like, damn, dude, I just don't want antibiotics. They're saying it. I would like to believe that and not have antibiotics in the eggs. But I think that generational thing is just going to wear out pretty soon, and gin is quite a nice conducive medium for it, because it's not that harsh on your palate. You have no restriction just to barley or hops, where it becomes restrictive a bit. You can add other elements to it as well. I have seen certain brands also. I was in Bangalore recently, and I felt that, dude, living in Mumbai, I don't have these many options available easily, like the hard seltzer, or some brands who have come out with mixers where you have your gin and then something else to go along with it. And I was like, how come I don't have this in Mumbai, which is considered to be like the best city in the country, like or if I find it, I'll have to pay through my nose for it.
Yeah.
With all of the tax and the excise that is put on it and whatnot. So, how far do you think this, like, what do you think the timeline is? Like,
For?
in the next 2 years, 3 years, for this to just blow up, and you have like a nice aisle now dedicated to just gins along with the mixer potential of it. Like bifurcating your, not bifurcating, what is that
I
thing?
mean, I think it's already happened, no? Go to
Yeah.
Delfino's. There's an entire aisle of gins.
Oh, Delfino's has. Definitely,
Yeah.
Delfino's has.
but
But
there's a thing-
outside Goa, outside Karnataka.
Like, what is the alcobev? Like, for example, I'll give an like for comedians, you start out in your city and eventually you head to Bombay. Eventually, you do like a Just for Laughs or something. So there's like a road. So is there a road in the alcobev industry?
I can tell you that there's a road with a lot of roadblocks.
Yeah?
Yes, yes.
Damn.
Please expand.
Maybe to be slightly politically correct, I'm just going to leave it at the fact that this journey is not dedicated by your own success. Like, I think for you, the example, the parallel that you're drawing with comedy, for example,
Yeah.
or performance of any kind is dedicated by your effort, is dictated by your effort and your success, and then you
Yeah.
decide the path.
Mostly.
Mine is dictated by regulation.
Oh, okay.
It is one of the most heavily regulated categories in India even today. They're like 99%. I think there's only one state even now that allows home delivery of alcohol. Online ordering of alcohol is still illegal in India. You can't get it on Swiggy. You can't even send a bottle of alcohol from my house to my friend's house via Swiggy Genie. They'll refuse to accept it. Or
Okay.
Dunzo in Bangalore.
Oh.
So it is a very regulated category. And one would hope that, you know, change can come in two ways. I think it's like, legislation and regulation can change, or else circumstances can change, and that follows.
Yeah.
And I think the latter is what I'm hoping for over here, because I feel like eventually there's going to be a critical mass of craft brands in India, right? Like, we
Yeah.
are just at the start of that journey. Like, people keep asking me, oh, there are 21 gins, this category is going to die now. And I'm just like, why? An average bar in London has 400 gins. 400. We are just at the beginning of this explosion, beginning of this journey. And to me, it is a very positive thing, because the more a category does to grow itself, the more your regulators have to pay attention to you.
Yeah, because it becomes that big.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if this sounds politically incorrect, but it's the truth, which is that the profile of makers is changing.
Okay.
That's what is happening in alcohol right now. Like, you have investment bankers and consultants making alcohol, right? With full-on professional background, educated, corporatized, doing this in a structured manner, treating it like any other business.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of systematizing what you can, organizing what you can.
Yeah.
And some of the regulations are actually legacy of the fact that the older generation of manufacturers are shady.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Local, right? That's why there's a lot of fake stuff floating around. There's a lot of duty evasion that has happened. There's so much. So that's why we pay the cost for it, even though we are approaching it with a very different mindset. But eventually, if the shape of the industry changes enough, I would hope that regulations come in to support us.
So in a way, it's like how gin started in London. It's the same thing playing out again over here. So there's
Except like, I can't begin to describe what a massive role regulation plays. Like, the thing with gin in the UK, why you have 400 and that's in a single bar. Like, there's this app called Ginventory, which lists all the gins in the world. Matinee is also now registered on that. It has now over 7,000 gins on it. So there are 7,000 gins minimum globally that are on the app, right? But the difference, like, I think what happens in the UK is that it's not a regulated category. So I have met people who make their own alcohol, the spirit, at home in their backyard.
Yeah.
They make their own wheat-based or rice-based spirit, grain-based, whatever they might choose, spirit in their backyard. So it starts, the craft starts from there. In India right now, I have to procure that.
Got it.
But that's what makes a difference. That's why you can do small batch.
Acha.
Yeah.
That's why you have brands in
Back
the UK
there.
that can still do like 100 bottles a month and be happy with it, because things like MOQs don't exist, things like licensing fees, registration fees don't, or even if they do, they're much lower and friendlier.
So the entry only is very difficult for this.
So entry barriers are very high in this category.
Okay.
Very high.
Is there anything that we as consumers can do?
Drink more, ask more, ask
Done.
for more.
Done.
You just get like slurry speech videos and Lavanya says, not this, guys. Behave responsibility.
इस
responsibly.
देश में जिन का सूरज उगेगा.
उगना शुरू हो गया है मेरे हिसाब से. I mean, I feel we are just at the start of something beautiful. I really hope I'm right.
I agree with that. Also, I think the approach towards understanding intent behind creation, that intent has changed and evolved with time.
Yeah.
Because in Mumbai, since I was a kid, I had this really terrible habit of reading the newspaper. And it's a horrible habit.
He's still recovering.
Not recommended to anyone.
Yeah.
So there is this month where people usually abstain from alcohol.
Shravan.
Shravan. And always there's this a day which is called Gatari. I don't know if you've heard of it. So
No, I haven't.
It's
Gatari,
like Pancake Tuesday and whatnot.
Okay.
yeah, for alcohol. So
Okay.
it's like Shravan, you're basically going through a month of abstaining from non-vegetarian food, alcohol, all of that, right? So before that begins, you need to have a day where you are basically indulging in gluttony when it comes to both. And a day or two before Gatari, you would always read in the newspaper that somebody was trying to transport hooch in the truck tire tubes and stuff like that. And somebody died because of alcohol poisoning. Now, the intent over there is to basically not create and craft the best sort of gin.
Exactly, yeah.
The intent over there is to make a quick buck, and
Yeah.
they don't care if it's at the expense of something.
Yeah.
But the intent has evolved with time so much that now you see the younger generations who are getting into distillation. You and a couple of other people, like you mentioned, consultants,
I love
bankers.
the fact that you call me younger generation. Thanks, man.
Yeah, that's the lie that I tell myself also, Lavanya. This is how I get through life, man. Like, there's no need to point that out. I'm going to do that for the next 15 years at least, till somebody rudely tells, no, you're old, deal with it. And then I'll reach for a bottle of Matinee Gin. Subtle plug. And the intent is changing to the extent where people are focusing on sharing an experience. And that's
Correct.
what I really like about people who focus on making great experiences. You're not just creating an alcohol, but you're adding something to the day. People make this horrible assumption that when you say drinking, you want to pass out. Which is not the case.
Not at all.
A great drink can go ahead and really sparkle up your day. Like, as a comic, we both are not averse to the idea of day drinking.
Yeah, it's part of our work schedule also.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Do you have it in your calendar?
Yeah. A reminder on Google.
Mid-set. Take 2 sips.
Yeah.
And it is a lot of fun because I've realized there is a reason why some form of alcoholic beverage was found historically, like globally across cultures. The idea of fermenting and drinking something so that you lose your social inhibitions to an extent at least.
Yeah.
Not like take your t-shirt off and do this, but at least go ahead and have conversations with strangers. That's how bars came about.
Exactly,
Where
yeah.
people were like, I'm tired of talking to my family again and again.
We grew up in India where our cousins were our best friends, right?
Oh, yes, yes. They introduce you to stuff, especially if they traveled abroad and they've come back and then they behave like, how...
That is cultural exchange.
Yeah, that is cultural exchange, definitely. Because then they behave like your favorite Santa Claus version. Like,
Yeah.
dude, you won't guess what I got for you. All right, there's a great bottle. You don't get it here at all. Don't share it with everyone. This is for you. Like, keep it. And cousins have a big role to play in
In a
that.
way, even like how rare and expensive the bottle is,
Yeah.
and the person you share it with,
Yeah.
that is also like a compliment to the person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
I'm
save
sharing
those
it
for
with
special
you.
occasions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Open this bottle for that person
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
that
yeah.
time.
Yeah. But the thing is, when you do that, you always mention it also.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
You
hey, I
have
don't
to tell
open this for everyone. Like, you're special, okay? Like,
Yeah, of course.
Because the favor needs to be returned.
yeah.
But I'd love to say something about this idea of intention that you're talking about,
Yeah.
because that has been the defining factor for Anjali and me. Like, what was our intention behind this, right? And nobody starts a business for charity. Of course,
Yeah.
we want to make money out of it. So again, plug, please
Yeah.
buy Matinee. But the thing is that we are not out here to make a quick buck. Like we are here for the marathon, not the sprint.
Yep.
It takes time to build a great product. It takes time to build a great brand. It takes time to get your community of loyal people who actually believe in what you do and love what you do and love what you make.
Yep.
But the intent matters a lot because we are in it for the long haul, but also we truly believe that India deserves better.
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
Like it just, the shelf of alcohol and alcoholic beverages that was available just a decade ago, and the Indians that are drinking today, there's no connection between the two.
True.
Yeah.
And it just feels like if we are evolving at such a rapid pace, if our tastes are evolving, like younger generations across the globe, at least the privileged parts of it are getting more and more homogenized,
Yeah.
right? With access to the same kind of media, information, products, etc.
Yeah.
Like it felt at a certain point that people are evolving faster than the products that were trying to cater to them. And that is what we wanted to solve for. Like we wanted to say that what Make in India means is not just to produce, but it is to produce something of fantastic quality for India.
Yeah. Something that becomes part of that cultural tapestry.
Yeah, I truly believe it's because you deserve better
Yeah.
than what you've been having. My product is better
get
than
drunk.
90% of what you have had before.
Yeah.
And it's time for you to have better. That's why we are doing it.
Yeah.
That's why we don't compromise on our quality in any shape or form. That's why we procure the highest quality of ENA. There are grades of that, and price points get affected. But there are grades of ENA you can procure, and it's obvious the less smooth, the less number of distillations it has gone through before it comes to you, that can dictate the smoothness of the spirit. But most importantly, it can dictate your next morning. And that was very clear in our minds. We get the highest quality ENA available to us in Goa. And this has been tested by the team. I don't recommend anyone does this at home. But you could have half a bottle of Matinee and not have a hangover the next morning.
Really?
Yeah, it's the spirit quality that dictates that. Like, notice how expensive alcohol doesn't give you a hangover,
Yeah.
and cheap alcohol does.
Oh.
So that's because of additives.
no, it's
why-
because of how many distillations the spirit
It's
is.
the
Okay.
quality
base
of the spirit
is
itself. Though, of course, like in brown spirit, there are additives as well. I'm not an expert on those. But when it comes to gin, I know that the main dictator of smoothness is the quality of the spirit.
Okay.
And that is something we just have not compromised on. And even when you distill it again, the process to it, it's like distillation is a bit of an art and a science combined, because you have a temperature gauge and you have these heaters that are telling you at what point to cut what, but also you have to use your smell, your eyes, your mouth. Like you have to know.
So you have to be
develop
present.
you have to be present throughout the process. It's not like you can press a button and it happens.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is a very involved process that the tech with temperature gauges and whatnot supports you, but ultimately it's the distiller.
Oh, there's a lot of instinct involved in
Yeah, exactly. And that gut also develops. The more batches you do, the better your palate and your gut feeling becomes as well.
Acha.
Right. So, but that intention is really important. That
Yeah.
put a superlative product out there. Of course, we want to make money. I'm not
Yeah.
like, doing this, like I said, for charity.
Yeah.
But make a great product. Take your time to do it. Like, do the marathon. Take time to develop the audience. I don't want to flood people with Matinee. I want them to discover it and come to it. And even the price point. Like, I know we jokingly, it's perfectly fine that we all talk about drinking and partying and taking t-shirts off. But being a maker in the category, the responsibility feels slightly different.
Yeah.
Because it is, and especially being a woman. Unfortunately, there's a lot of unsafe behavior that comes along with alcohol. Like you need to make sure that you know what you stand for. And we chose, like, other than the fact that we are using expensive botanicals and spirits, we also went down that route because we said that we don't want to be a 500 or a 1,000 rupee bottle that encourages people to over-consume and then drive their car and then do something.
Yeah.
We said that let us be at a price point that makes you think for a second. And if you think for a second, then you are likely to consume it a little bit more mindfully. So we have consciously made ourselves premium. We have put in that effort to say that for all of these reasons, including like just having an angle of safety.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a person who's saying that please go out and get drunk every night
Yeah.
or, overconsume beyond your limits, So, yeah.
Oh, that's an angle that didn't occur to us.
Yeah.
It didn't occur to me either until I was a maker.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
we've all of us have been partying all our lives, right?
Yep.
I mean, it just once you start making it and then you think about the impact that you are likely to have on people purchasing it, and truly that responsibility weighs heavier on my shoulders as a woman. Gender does matter in this.
Barabar.
You know,
Yeah.
like we didn't even realize in the beginning that we are India's first and only women founded gin. Somebody interviewed us and put it like that, and I'm like, oh, acha, haan.
Yeah.
Because we did not make it because we are women. We
Barabar,
happen
yeah.
to be women.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And then you realize this, and then we started thinking about it, and then we were like, okay, no, we have to stand for this.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, I think having a very clear approach towards how you want to execute something ethically
Yeah.
makes the joy of ownership that much more fulfilling.
I totally agree.
'Cause-
I sleep better at night.
Yeah, it just feels nice that you haven't cut corners for ulterior motives. That your approach towards creating was so sincere that now you don't feel guilty about owning it also or sharing it with people.
Absolutely.
That you feel confident about it. Yeah, that makes a big difference, man. Because I have noticed a lot of products across the board when you're looking at the bottom line only. There is a way of dehumanizing your consumer.
Yeah.
Where they just become numbers and
I don't
you're
call
still
them
looking at-
consumers, they're my customers.
Yeah. So, no,
They
that-
don't just consume.
Exactly, but when you call them consumers, that's the dehumanizing grammar that you utilize to just look at them as
Numbers.
statistical data. That is it.
Yeah.
Which takes out the joy, I
Yeah.
feel, out of doing this.
Yeah.
Like where you're looking at it as customers, where did they like the product? Did they not? Why? What happened? Did something go wrong with the bottling? What the hell is going on? Listening to that, and when you realize that the person who's making it is listening to you and is paying attention to what you're saying, it makes a huge difference to the customer's experience. Because I've had that moment where you have just had an interaction with like a Fortune 500 company and you feel like shit, dude. Because you feel like, oh, I have absolutely no value here, man. Because they'll just pay attention, they'll just point out to the rest of the pie chart, like, look at all of these people, you think we care about you? And that, I think, is also one of the reasons why people are looking for craft things, because you feel valued as a customer.
Yeah.
That somebody is looking out for my flavor profile.
Yeah.
Ki I might like this, and it's almost like fishing. You're not throwing like a wide net, but like with a pole.
You're absolute. I mean, I couldn't have put it better.
Nah, no, man. Thank
This
you.
is but this is one of the reasons I myself am a customer of craft brands, right? There have been times in my life when I've purchased something, given a new brand a shot, and then I've written to the founder on LinkedIn and gotten a response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's a real person.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
not
real
an
person.
automated. Please do
Yeah.
not reply to this message.
Yeah, like on a complaint, a couple of times on just pure praise because I was so happy to come across this product and always get a response from them, and then you know that they are in it for the right reasons because it's if you had 1 million customers, it's not possible to respond to all of those LinkedIn messages.
Yeah.
So I mean, but there is this debate, obviously, like how much can craft scale, and
Well, that was what I was going to. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Scaling has this, again, a negative connotation attached to it, where if you speak about scaling, it automatically infers reduction of quality.
Correct.
Volume equals to bad quality is generally how people look at manufacturing when it comes to any product.
Correct.
So, of course, you guys would have had conversations about this with, each other as well as other people. Maybe, how do you, of course, and you're starting, like you've been on the shelves for, a year close to. So, what do you think there is validity to this statement or do you think scaling can happen without, destroying the inherent quality of the product?
I 100% believe it can happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? I mean, it's all about the limit to your ambition. That is what I like to think about it as, because I'm very wary of the fact right now that we live in an India where Startup India has started to mean unicorns and India's first decacon and the kind of valuations that have never existed in any industry
Yeah,
or
yeah.
world before that, right? And I am very wary of the fact that this is a real product and it has to have a real limit to it. And it's just that I don't believe that that limit is anywhere near the couple of hundred cases that craft starts out at.
Yeah.
Like Hendrix is a great example.
Okay.
Right? They have since been acquired, but the brand, its products, there has been no compromise in quality. You were talking about your experience with cucumber. You can thank Hendrix for that.
Okay. Yeah?
That was I mean, that's what exploded the consumption of Hendrix, is because they were the first ones to, well, at least the first ones to popularize, not discover, but popularize the idea of a slice of cucumber, and theirs is a cucumber forward, like it's a fresh gin, right?
yeah.
So that idea of gin and cucumber came from that brand, was popularized by that brand. I don't see a difference in them today as a brand than when they were started by individuals like a decade ago, right?
Yeah.
Of course, right now they have the machinery and the power of one of the largest alcohol companies in the world behind them.
Yeah.
Both Monkey 47 and Hendrix have since been acquired. But I think they both remain great brands. And I think the difference when I say limit to ambition, right, it has to be that you need to realize the difference between 10,000 cases and 1 lakh cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that craft can ever do 1 lakh cases like I don't know, like a Red Label or a beer.
Yeah.
Or, I don't think so. And I don't think that is the role of craft.
Yeah.
You know, I think that in a nutshell, craft can scale, and the right craft founder will identify the point at which scale and quality coexist.
Okay.
And if there is a chance of that diluting, then you should choose not to grow beyond that. I would love to see if posed with that own question, what will my answer be in 10 years' time? I would love to find out.
Yeah, because there's a choice between counterproductivity and that, right? That's
Yeah.
what you're looking at. And it makes so much sense because growth is something that everybody aspires to have in any choice that they have made. But at the same time, unregulated, unrealized growth
Exactly.
has destroyed so many nice things.
Yeah.
You know, let it be a good story, you know, a movie which comes out with 5 sequels unnecessarily,
Yeah.
you know. So many examples of that.
Yeah, did we really need like Saw 6?
Yeah. He's killing the whole city and nobody caught up to him. How does this movie even work, man? True, that is very true. And retaining quality is what will make the journey more, not just like, it just makes it worthwhile, you know.
It's a better environment also.
It's a better environment also. And I think you will have better employees because of it as well.
I certainly believe I have like one of the best teams I can hope for right now in this business. Truly. And I hope that they believe that they work for a great company as well. I think we have created a culture of, you know, accountability, equality, and enjoyment, or at least we are trying to in the process of it. As a young startup, a lot of time it is all hands on deck because on a daily basis you're firefighting something or the other.
Yeah.
You know, that's just par for the course.
Yeah.
Right? And the right team makes a massive difference. And I freaking love my team. They're my dream team.
Yeah.
And I've only just started. There's only, 5 of us now. I have yet to hire. I'm in the middle of my second round of fundraise. I'm about to launch in Bangalore.
Nice.
Registering in another state in the north. So just at the start of a journey. And this is one thing Anjali and I have been very clear on. Like, first 20 employees have to be like, no compromises. We'll just do all the work ourselves until we find the right person. And that's what has happened with these, like I said, dream team. It's coming
Nice.
together.
Nice. So just one question. So every state you go to, you have to register.
Yeah, dude.
It's
That's
not
what
like
I'm
a
trying to tell
national
you.
thing that,
Excise is
okay,
a
I'm
state
this.
subject.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
It's not a union. It's like it's one of 2 industries, or at least petrol and alcohol did not come under GST. So excise. So it's not a national subject. It's still a state subject. You still have like VAT and excise duties and all state by state. You can blame regulators for the price differences that you see. Like my bottle here in Goa is 1650, and when I launch in Bangalore, it's going to be 3400. And that difference, I don't get a rupee of that.
Oh,
The entire
what?
thing is duty
oh,
and tax.
okay.
So my profit, my costing exporting out of Goa, and my profit system doesn't change, but the
And
pricing changes because of the difference in duty and
will
VAT.
that pricing come down if you have a place in Goa, or like if
No.
place in Karnataka or something as this?
Yes,
In the same
you're
states?
right. Like there are some states where if you distill and bottle in the same state, the pricing comes down. But it's a flip side, like
Okay.
because the cost of setting up and getting a distillation
okay.
license,
Oh,
manufacturing
yes.
license is disproportionately high.
Yeah.
Like we researched a few states, like I'm sure a lot of my counterparts have before settling on Goa and realizing that this is the best place to do it. I mean, all of them are coming out of here for a reason.
Yeah.
The only couple of brands that have come out of the north of India are brands that have used established distilleries,
Okay.
like their
Alright.
own established distilleries.
It's like a
Right.
small.
You
thing
already
coming out.
have the setup, all of
Yes.
that, the machinery, tooling, all of that
Yes,
done.
yes. So for any new brand starting from scratch, getting your own setup or contract manufacturing like we do, Goa is just the cheapest and friendliest state to do it from. It's easiest to get the license here. It is actually like, I think here the excise is supportive.
Okay.
You know, you can go meet them and get your queries sorted, but also the licensing is affordable and the systems are easier.
Yeah.
Great.
Because I think they are aware of the fact that it brings a lot to the table in terms of employment opportunities, in terms of just non-direct taxes and other stuff that you can earn as a state from an establishment as well. There's enough. You don't need to burden them with more.
Correct.
That was pretty shocking. I mean, I knew the level of excise duty. I mean, it is to a certain extent regulated by individual states, and hence the price difference can be ridiculous. But here 1650 and they're charging 34, so it's close to double.
Yeah.
You know, and none of it comes to you. So it's
Zero.
like on a bottle that you sell, the whole extra bottle money is made by.
I'm surprised you're not drinking more.
Yeah. Damn, dude. Yeah.
Only because we are on camera.
Damn, dude. I would legit look at the balance sheet and open up a bottle. Like,
I'll
what the
just
hell
be
is
like,
going
"Nahi
on?"
pee leta hu yaar."
Or rather, write to them, what are you drinking, man? What is going on? Are you not good at math?
And then, you know, that actually makes my challenges tougher because establishing a 1650 brand versus establishing a 3400 rupee brand is a very different ball game.
Barabar, huh?
Right. So
Yeah.
it's almost like out of my control. My brand is positioned at a price point that I never wanted to aim for.
Correct.
And now I have to convince people of the quality. I do believe it is worth that.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I literally believe I could price this bottle at 5,000 rupees and still be undercharging for it. But my idea of having, something at an accessible premium, it really depends from state to state.
And young drinkers won't be able to afford something that's 3,400.
Yeah.
And they are the people
Yeah.
who will be open to.
But like I
exploring
said,
this.
really did not. People think that this is a colorful bottle, so it is supposed to go after young India. And I'm just like, all of India is colorful, man, at every
100%,
age.
yeah. Sure.
And for me, this is a brand for youthful people, that's it, who appreciate color and design and a great taste and whatnot. But you can be 60, 70 years old and have Matinee. But consciously, I don't want to say that I'm a brand targeting young people because I'm
Okay.
not at that price point.
Yeah.
And I do want mindful drinkers, responsible drinkers
Yeah.
to be choosing Matinee. So, yeah, I mean,
So, would you say that establishing a brand abroad would be more easier as compared to India?
sadly, in some cases, it's going to be. It's
Acha.
going to be because, I mean, first of all, the first thing that will happen when I get to international waters is I'm going to be on Amazon,
Oh, okay.
right? That makes a massive difference.
Correct. Huh.
And there are websites, entire e-commerce websites dedicated to, like, just like there is craft alcohol as an industry over here, there is discovery of alcohol as an industry abroad as well.
Okay.
So there are these super premium, beautiful websites in different parts of the world where, where it would be a privilege to get listed and for people to discover your brand through those platforms and purchase online.
Okay.
But there's the fact that a lot of times, there are differences in regulations. Like, for example, this is 750 ml. I'll have to make a 700 ml bottle for certain countries where they don't do 750.
Okay.
But that aside, it's actually easier in some ways. Like the registration processes are not as rigorous.
Okay.
You get a distributor, they place an order. You need that import-export number and stuff from India, but then once you have that, it's actually easier. And funnily enough, I've already had, I'm very happy with, this fishing versus casting a wide net analogy that you were making. My entire strategy with Matinee has been micro communities of discovery. I'm not flooding the market with 50% discounts like some competitors are, because that's a great strategy for the beginning, but it can only last so long.
Yeah.
I'm here to build my brand. So
Yeah.
it's okay if it takes time. I'm fine. Like I said,
It's like
marathon.
a flash in the pan. Discounts
Yeah.
are always like that.
Yeah, so I'm fine. Like I said, marathon fishing, not casting a wide net. And despite that, I've already had distributors from the UAE, Singapore, and Denmark reach out to me on Instagram on an email saying, we'd love to get your product over. Let us know how to do it.
That's
So
pretty
there's
cool.
international
right?
acclaim already.
I mean, there's curiosity at least, if not a claim, and that's good enough for me for now.
100%,
So I've started the process already. Like I had saved it and planned, like, as per our plan with investors and whatnot. We had thought of not going international until year 2 or year 3 because you want to establish yourself as a national brand first
Barabar,
and get that credibility before you move abroad. But I am exploring it sooner. Like I've started the process of getting that registration done to see if I can actually do this sooner, because why not? If people are actually already asking for my product, who am I to say no?
Yeah.
Right? At least I can give it a shot sooner.
I think the internet helps out a lot with
Yeah.
the idea of discovery.
Yeah.
You're very true. I mean, for every other thing, you're utilizing Amazon and other delivery services. Opening this up is just going to churn the wheels of that part of the economy faster. It's not going to. It's going to be conducive rather than compared to whatever you think the downfall might be of listing alcoholic brands on this. It would definitely make a lot of sense. The Netherlands, Europe, all of that. If that market opens up for Indian makers, it would be great.
Yeah.
Because now you're just reversing the whole transaction scene. You
Yeah.
know, where you're putting the burden of the exchange rate on, not the burden, but rather you're not taking the hit of the exchange rate. And not only that, you won't have to compete with the idea of volume. Like economically also it balances out sort of. Like even a small batch will still get us like a decent enough amount of money.
Yeah, the revenues will be better,
Yeah.
for sure, without the burden of all the duties that we have over here. And what this tells me, honestly, which I feel quite proud of, is that, and trust me, I'm not a, patriot by any definition of the word, but it just makes me feel proud that this means that Indian products already have a standing abroad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would have imagined that I need to first ask for that respect and earn that respect being made in India,
Yeah.
right? But doesn't seem to be the case.
No.
And I'm sure my predecessors have had a lot to do with it. Like huge respect for Now Spirits, one of the companies that I really look up to, love both of their products. I think absolute trailblazers, and they deserve every single thing that they have right now. And they are available in so many parts of the world already, right?
Yeah.
And so is Stranger and Sons. I mean, those are two brands and two companies that I really look up to, because they started this entire movement, made it possible for the rest of us. And now we get a shot at doing things slightly differently, slightly faster,
It's nice to not have that unnecessary competition, and rather like have a more helpful environment with people who are in the same playground.
Yeah.
Because it helps out a lot in terms of growing consciously, understanding and learning from somebody else's errors or mistakes.
Yeah.
So that you can exchanging information and knowledge when you're in the same industry is also a thing that I've seen, like it's starting to happen now, and it's nice
Yeah.
to see that happen
No,
amongst.
I'm totally not here for competition. I'm here to build a community.
Yeah.
And I feel that, like I said, the more brands that come out, the more we are able to collaborate and learn from each other, the better it is for all of us. Let's grow the size of the pie instead of stealing
Yeah.
small slices from
Exactly,
each
right.
other.
Is that feast versus famine thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Don't have
just-
that famine mentality. There's not enough. There's enough.
There is enough to go around.
Yeah.
I truly believe, and I enjoy being in Goa because a lot of founders are here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do keep meeting them, running into them. We're all part of the same community, exchanging notes, and I think it's lovely.
It's like the Silicon Valley of
Alcohol.
Of alcohol.
Yeah, but I think it's a bit better. The Silicon Valley analogy.
Spirit
also-
Valley. This has
Yeah.
to be called Spirit
Spirit
Valley.
Valley, love
Yes,
that.
Exactly.
Goa is India's
Spirit
Spirit
Valley.
Valley.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope this catches on to
Yeah.
This would be so cool.
You know, we ran across somebody who worked for the Susegado Brewing Company at Delfinos, and he was pointing out
It's
like,
a
why don't you
great
try
set
that?
of beers they have.
Yeah.
Love them, yeah.
And he was
Their
just pointing
Dartmouth
out.
lager.
Yeah, lager's
Yes.
amazing. Lager's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
lovely.
Pretty cool. And what I've realized is not just them, like a lot of people. Goa is great for collabs, dude. Like I've found a couple of places where people have just been generous enough to be like, you know, yeah, come,
Locations
shoot.
to shoot
Yeah.
are so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just open their doors to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, please come.
It's amazing what can happen when you're not driven by commercials,
Huh,
right?
100%,
Commercials
yeah.
are important to everyone, but I think Goa enables you to not be driven by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not working to pay your rent. You're not working
Yeah.
to like buy that extra little thing that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different.
You're not looking at a target all
yeah,
the time.
yeah.
And like you can put things into perspective, get a wider perspective of like, okay, fine, okay, what are our priorities really?
Yeah.
And then you sort of take precedence over other things. You being chill takes precedence over others, which happens
100%. I mean,
which happens
I've been, last 20 years of my life, I have only spent in some of the biggest cities of the world, okay? Like cities on crack.
Yeah.
They're not just regular, like Singapore, London, Bombay, Bangalore, like all places that are known for their manic
yeah, each place has a
mentality.
clock of the other city.
Yeah. And it is what I loved when I moved to Goa last year, and there was a bit of apprehension that how am I going to adjust, because it is a very different lifestyle over here. This is nothing like a metro,
Yeah.
right? But I've totally fallen in love with it. It's the first place in my entire life that I can see myself living in for the foreseeable future. And what I love the most is that, meeting these interesting people and figuring out you can collaborate, it happens by accident.
Yeah,
Yes.
Like,
it's
what do you
serendipity.
do is not the first question you ask in Goa.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Like in Bombay, Bangalore, and all, the first question is, hey, what's up? What do you do?
Yeah.
That does not come up. And the moment I realized that, I stopped asking that question.
Oh, yeah.
And-
Because it's a very reductionist question.
Exactly.
Like, I'm going to reduce your being to, what are you
Your
doing?
profession.
Manager?
Yeah.
Manager?
Even there, like rather than exploring the person
Yeah.
and figuring out who they are or letting them put their best foot forward, you just like, no, मेरे मतलब का क्या है तेरे इसमें?
Huh.
I mean, the context you meet people in Goa are so different. There's so many things to talk about around you that then baad mein, oh, acha, oh, cool, we might be able to do something together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that feels like a more genuine.
Connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, to people.
Yeah, it's more human. It's basically
Yeah.
just more human behavior,
Yeah.
which people from cities come and get surprised by in Goa.
So, are you guys like convinced to move here yet?
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
dude, it's making such a strong case.
yes, and making quite a strong case.
My lease is also ending up.
I mean, the universe is trying to tell you
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, the wrong geographical location, Noel. It has a lot to
Surname
do.
is also correct.
Yeah.
For this.
Oh, yeah. You'll to fit right in.
Yeah, I'll just blend.
Yeah, just check out a couple of nameplates. If you see the name Cordero,
I'll just be like,
knock.
please adopt.
Yeah. We are already related somehow. Okay.
I'm
Let's
sure.
dig up the family tree. Like, this room is mine now. I've moved in.
One sofa is also fine, uncle.
Yeah. And the thing is, the way I've seen Goan people be like, yeah, okay, just remove the t-shirt, lie down there.
Yeah. Truly. I mean, that's the other thing about Goa, and other than regulation and whatever makes it easier, no, it's actually when it is more fulfilling to live in a place, then you get to be better at what you do.
Yes.
When you are not battling 10,000 things on a daily basis just to get through the day, like you said, you actually become more productive, more focused.
Yeah.
I'm not worrying about traffic and pollution and
100%.
peak hour and train nahi milega, taxi nahi milega, ye nahi hoga. I don't have any of those worries
Yeah,
anymore.
distance and time are correlated on the map here.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
You're,
Yeah.
you're not waiting at
And
traffic.
people, and that's what I feel, like major mixed feelings, right? Because as it is, I'm one of those people that has come at a very late stage of Goa's development. Anyone I meet right now will say, oh, Goa was something else way back when and whatnot. For me, it still is. Like, I have not seen that idyllic picture that they have experienced. So for me, it still is. But it does also make me apprehensive. Like, it's a little hypocritical to say this, but the more of me that will come here, the less this place will become, the less this place will be as it is.
Yeah.
You know, and I just feel like I hope that we attract a more conscious, ethical, responsible sort of people moving in, because I think that's moving between cities in India is now a given. COVID has also changed everything. People have discovered places like Goa and Himachal and where Uttarakhand and whatnot. But one can only hope that you come and treat a place with the respect that it is due. Like, I would hate to see that kind of xenophobia that some states have now just because they've been treated poorly. And I'm starting to see the beginnings of it, you know, like there are people complaining about tourists walking down fontaines, and then I read that article and then I feel like, oh God, like tourists like this actually should be banned, you know, walking into people's houses to take pictures and like driving
This
their
is
car.
Goa, dude, not like Dharavi or anything. And there also it is wrong.
Yeah, there also it is wrong.
Yeah.
You can't just
So
decide
I mean, all I can hope is that even as an outsider, just because I've moved around so much in my life, the only way I've survived is by having a deep connection and respect for wherever I live.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'll always be an outsider.
Yeah.
You know, so the only way is to become an
I
insider.
think the philosophy of craft also, I think, lends itself to that, no? Because you're so connected to what is being produced in the earth.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, when you scale up and whatnot, you're interacting with machines.
Yeah.
So there is a disconnect between what you take away from the earth and what you take away from your environment. But here there is a proper give and take.
Ooh, I'd love to tell you a little nerdy fact about an ingredient if that's okay. Like, because of what you say, I what you just said, I think that's exactly that attitude that helped Anjali and me discover this one ingredient that we added on later actually. After we were coming and going more from Goa, trying to look for places, we came across this pepper called tefla. Goan peppercorn, which is tefal, tirfal, tefla, few different names of it. And every other gin uses regular pepper. Right, like regular peppercorn that you can source from Kerala and a bunch of other places now. And we were blown away by this pepper because it is used in fish curries in Goa. Because it is a pepper that has a dual profile. It is a citrus pepper. Can you believe that?
So there's a lemony taste to it.
It is insane. I've never come across, like when we first distilled that ingredient alone, mind blowing. And even the smell, the fragrance of it. And I mean, would never have discovered that if not for the love of Goa.
Almost helps balance out the heat or what from the peppercorn.
Yeah, our gin is supposed to be a citrus forward gin, like refreshing, easy on the palate, easy to drink at any time in the day or night, you know. And so we do have two citrus fruits in there. We do have a kagzi lime and an orange as well. But even this adds that character to it. It's like the bite of pepper but with a hint of citrus. It's an amazing ingredient. We all totally fell in love with it.
Yeah, because if it's bringing so much to the table, it's going to add a lot to the sip. Most definitely. And sourcing it, I believe a lot of growers, a lot of Indian growers would be happy to see this sort of interaction happening between consumers and their ingredients, and even makers.
Customers.
Customers. Still losing
Sorry,
He's
man.
so used to being a
20
consumer.
years in
used
that
to it,
career,
man.
20 years in that career, even I know what it is. I just need to see those people differently now because I'm making for them, finally.
No, it makes sense. But what was I got stuck on that.
You were talking about makers, customers interacting with
Huh.
ingredients.
So like it would be a great thing for the growers also, because ingredients which were overshadowed or not paid attention to or thought as if, well, this does not get included in the making process of anything. They now get a chance to like show something that is truly from here.
10 years later, there's a Goan peppercorn baron
Yeah.
standing for elections.
That's how it is going to pan out.
Honestly speaking, like we've worked very hard, but even we have only just scratched the surface. I mean, we have 4 ingredients that have never been used in any gin in the world before. Not in India, not in the world. At least India, I can say conclusively. I have access to everyone's ingredient list. But we did a search online and Ginventory and all, and we've not found it. So I think these 4 are the first ever. But these are 4 of like 4,000 India has to offer.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Every village, every riverbank, every
like we have a plethora of options when we think about doing limited flavors, limited editions, you know, special kind of seasonal something, all of which I want to do in year 2, not in year 1.
Yeah.
But like the options are limitless. It's a wonderful time and a wonderful place to be here and doing this.
Yeah.
There's so much to explore.
Sold. We are sold. I'm selling my Mumbai house now. I'm calling the broker in 5 minutes. And sell it. I don't want to come back.
I'm going to Decathlon buying a tent. You get my stuff.
Oh man, Lavanya, this has been a great conversation, man. I think this was very informative for us, for a lot of our listeners as well. Before we wrap up, once again, if you are in Goa or if you are from Bangalore,
Or whichever blessed place
yes,
where their license has been found.
yes,
Run and buy one bottle.
please do give this gin a try. Matinee Gin. It's a beautifully bottled bit of liquid you see right here. Yeah. Please do check it out. We really like it, and I do hope you will enjoy it as well. Anything you want to plug, Lavanya, before we wrap up?
Nothing at all. I think
No?
I've loved talking about it. Maybe the last part I would love to draw attention to. We've talked so much about the product. I just want people to know that we have worked very hard on the design, the name.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to create again, like the idea was to keep differentiating at every stage, right?
Yes.
And we felt like a lot of bottles that were out there were following the global color palette of gin, which is either black, black gold, transparent, white, etc.
Yeah.
And we decided like, let's, you know, embrace India. Like this entire journey has been crafted with India at the heart of it. So our love for colors has to come out. And so we like, it was a 1 year long design journey that led to this, and it's actually 2 faces looking at each other. And I believe that they are ageless, they are genderless. You know, they can be anyone. They can be your partner, your friend, your parent, your sibling, whoever it might be. But the idea is that when you have a lovely drink with a person that you want to have it with, the world is a bit more of a colorful place.
Oh yes,
And-
makes the day worthwhile.
Yeah, and we wanted to capture that color, that chemistry, that moment when you're enjoying a drink
Yeah.
with each other. And like even the name Matinee, it just, you know, it just means a lot to India. It travels well outside of India, but it means a
Yes.
lot to every generation of India. Like to our generation, the
Matinee
younger
shows.
one,
Yes,
the
younger
younger one.
Lose the air
We
quotes,
used to-
Lavanya. Lose the air quotes, okay?
Where we grew up in that 12, 3, 6, 9 cinema time,
Yes,
na? And then
yes.
you had to bunk class to go for the matinee show.
Yes.
So there's that feeling of connect and familiarity, and for the even younger
Yeah.
generation of
Yeah, use air quotes for them.
even younger generation of Indians, it still means something. Like it's they might not associate it necessarily with Bollywood like we do, but they do associate it with a damn good show.
Yeah.
A matinee show still means something, whether it's in the world of theater or stand-up or whatever it is. And I love that, because all I ever wanted to do with this was to put on a bloody good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't behave like alcoholic vampires, okay? Give this a shot in the evening as well. Make your afternoons a bit better. Matinee Gin.
Thanks for the plug, really.
No worries, man. I just went into the 1950s.
Ding! One like.
Yeah. Do follow the Matinee Gin on all social media websites as well, on their Instagram. We'll list them in the description section. You'll see them as graphics here as well. And looking forward to drinking more of your gin in other states as well, man.
As am I.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for this.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank you. It's
Lavanya.
been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh, that was easy though.
How long do you think we spoke for?
An hour?